How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give my review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from tonight, which is April 21st, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match one, it was Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Hangman Page went over with a bulldog choke leg lock combination. Or after the match, Taz got on the microphone and was talking shit towards Hangman Page and told him to watch his back. So Hook done a chop block to Hangman Page and started beating the shit out of him. Well, Ricky Starks held Hangman Page down, and Ricky Starks and Hook were beating the shit out of Hangman Page. Well, Hangman Page was fighting back, and Brian Cage came out and was getting ready to execute a power bomb to Hangman Page, but the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Alex Reynolds, 5, 10, and Colt Cabana, came to the aid of Hangman Page. Well, Team Taz, which are Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Hook, retreated, while Hangman Page and the Dark Order stood tall. Well, Taz came along and, with the retreatment of Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Hook, which that was cool. Match 2, it was Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Trent. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Pena El Cerro Miedo went over with the package pile driver. But during the match, Alex Abrahantes cut a promo providing a distraction to Trent, talking shit about his mom and everything, and then Orange Cassidy tried to interfere, but Pena El Cerro Miedo knocked Orange Cassidy out with a super kick, and then Alex Abrahantes attacked Trent with the microphone, then Pena El Cerro Miedo done the package pile driver to Trent and got the victory, which that was cool. I'm loving this pairing between Pena El Cerro Miedo and Alex Abrahantes, because personally, I think it's awesome. But all that was cool. Match 3, it was Hikaru Shida versus Ty Conti for the AEW Women's title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Hikaru Shida went over and retained the AEW Women's title with the katana. Match 4, it was, Match 4, it was QT Marshall versus Billy Gunn. That was a great match, but the ending to it, QT Marshall went over with the Diamond Cutter. Well, after the match, because where Anthony Ogogo interfered and attacked Billy Gunn with the punch in the stomach, to help QT Marshall win with the Diamond Cutter. Well, QT Marshall came out. QT Marshall got a wooden chair and was getting ready to attack Billy Gunn, but Dustin Rhodes came along. Dustin Rhodes came out and started beating Dustin Rhodes came out and beat the shit out of QT Marshall. But Anthony Ogogo provided a distraction to Dustin Rhodes, but Nick Comoroto came in the ring and tried to attack Dustin Rhodes from behind, but Dustin Rhodes moved out of the way and attacked Nick Comoroto with the wooden chair, but Nick Comoroto wasn't fazed about it. So all the referees had to come out and get in between Dustin Rhodes and Nick Comoroto, which that was cool. That was match 3. That was match 4, by the way. Match 5. Yep, match 5. It was Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That was a great match. But the ending to it, Christian Cage went over with the kill switch. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy for the AEW TNT title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Darby Allin went over and retained the AEW TNT title with the Last Supper. Well, after the match, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page came out and attacked Darby Allin and Jungle Boy, beating the shit out of them. Well, Ethan Page attacked Darby Allin. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page came out and beat the shit out of Darby Allin and Jungle Boy. Well, Jungle Boy was out of the ring, ended up getting knocked out of the ring, by Scorpio Sky. Well, Ethan Page attacked Darby Allin with the Ego's Edge, and Scorpio Sky was getting ready to apply the heel hook on Darby Allin, but Lance Archer and Jake the Snake Roberts came out. Well, Lance Archer got in the ring and started beating the shit out of Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and went for a double choke slam, but Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page done a double low blow to Lance Archer and then started beating the shit out of him, but Sting came out with his baseball bat, and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page retreated while Sting, Lance Archer, and Jake the Snake Roberts stood tall, which that was cool. But besides the matches, the Elite, which are Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, Michael Nakazawa, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Brandon Cutler. The Elite, which are Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Don Callis, Michael Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler, all went to the trailer. Well, Brandon Cutler was the cameraman for it, but the Elite went into their trailer, which that was cool. That was before the show, which that was cool. Well, Jim Ross had a sit-down interview with the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, and Jim Ross was pretty much asking the Pinnacle about the Blood and Guts match against the Inner Circle on May 5th. Well, MJF was talking a bunch of shit about Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle, and talked about how Tully Blanchard got him a scarf and everything. Well, Wardlow got Tully the scarf for MJF to put it on him, but MJF went on to talk more shit about Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle, and then Wardlow started talking shit about Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle and everything, and then MJF talked more shit about Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle, which that was cool. Let me see. Yeah. AEW aired a video package of the build-up between Hikaru Shida versus Ty Conti for the AEW Women's title, which that was cool. Miro cut a promo talking about how he came to AEW to dominate and everything, and talked about saying that AEW can put any obstacle in the way, but he was going to overcome all obstacles, and he was going to come after either the AEW champion Kenny Omega or the AEW TNT champion Darby Allin, and was talking about how it was his destiny to be either the AEW champion or the AEW TNT champion and everything, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed the Inner Circle, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz. And Tony Schiavone was pretty much asking the Inner Circle about their match against the Pinnacle in the Blood and Guts match on May 5th on AEW Dynamite. And Chris Jericho was pretty much talking shit about MJF and the Pinnacle and everything. And Jake Hager was talking about how the Pinnacle were going to be sucking out of straws after they're done with them and everything. Sammy Guevara translated something in Spanish to Chris Jericho about the Pinnacle. And Santana was talking about how MJF and Wardlow bitched their way into the Inner Circle and then backstabbed them and formed the Pinnacle and everything. And Chris Jericho was pretty much talking about how the Inner Circle were going to beat the shit out of the Pinnacle and everything, which that was cool. The Elite, which are Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega, Don Callis, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Michael Nakazawa were in the trailer, and Don Callis was pretty much putting over the Good Brothers, and then talking about how it was great to have the Young Bucks with them again and everything, and also put over Kenny Omega, saying that he's a AAA Mega Champion, the AEW World Champion, and soon to be Impact World Champion and everything. And Matt and Nick Jackson were pretty much talked about how their stock went up when they were in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and pretty much were talking shit about Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston and everything, and Kenny Omega was trying to talk some shit, but there was a car outside there was a vehicle outside of the trailer beeping the horn nonstop, and Kenny Omega was getting pissed, but Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson looked out the window to see who it was. They couldn't see anything. Well, the camera went the other way, and it was Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston in a pickup truck. Well, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston drove into the trailer, and Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston got out of the truck and had pipes and everything, and they destroyed the trailer and were looking for the Elite inside of the trailer, but none of them were there, and Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston were pretty much calling the Elite pussies and the Young Bucks pussies and everything like that. And Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston left and everything, which that was cool. And Jade Cargill cut a promo about saying that there's been managers that have been wanting her services and everything. Matt Hardy expressed interest in having Jade Cargill in the Hardy family office and everything, and Vicky Guerrero expressed interest in having Jade Cargill in her Vicious Vixen stable with Nyla Rose and everything. Well, Jade Cargill was pretty much going on about how she was the greatest of all time, and how she was how she didn't need a manager, and said that if she was to get a manager, they better offer her great services and everything, which that was cool. But, the whole Elite thing was cool too, with the Elite and Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Forgot to say that was cool, nonetheless. But anyway, but besides all that I just named, that I just covered, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And Taz, Taz done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the matches of Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks and Christian Cage versus Powerhouse. Wait, hold on a minute. Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And Taz done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the matches of Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks and Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Taz done great on guest commentary. And the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Paul Turner refereed the match between Hangman Page versus Ricky Starks. Rick Knox refereed the match between Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Trent. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Hikaru Shida versus Ty Conti for the AEW Women's title. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between QT Marshall versus Billy Gunn. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And Bryce Remsburg, that was Aubrey Edwards, by the way. And Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy for the AEW TNT title. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are... the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite that's been announced so far, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal. Hangman Page versus... the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Orange Cassidy. The Nightmare Family, which are Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Lee Johnson, versus The Factory. The match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Orange Cassidy. The Nightmare Family, which are Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Lee Johnson, versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Comoroto, and Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. So the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite looks like it's going to be awesome. And wait. One thing I did forget to cover next week. Let me do the match card over again. The match card for next week's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Seidel brothers, which are Matt and Mike Seidel. The match card for next week's AEW Dynamite. It's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Seidel brothers, which are Matt and Mike Seidel. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Penta El Cerro Miedo versus Orange Cassidy. The Nightmare Family, which are Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Lee Johnson versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick... Excuse me. Let me do this match card over again. The match card for next week's AEW Dynamite. It's going to be the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Seidel brothers, which are Matt and Mike Seidel. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Penta El Cerro Miedo versus Orange Cassidy. The Nightmare Family, which are Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Lee Johnson, versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Comoroto, and Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. Those are the matches that have been announced. But besides the matches that have been announced, it's going to the Inner Circle, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, and the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, are going to be doing a parlay. So the match card for next week's AEW Dynamite and the promo segment that's been announced for AEW Dynamite next week looks like it's going to be awesome. The whole show looks like it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from tonight, which is April 21st, 2021. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. I really enjoyed it. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road.